Ladies and gentlemen, sports fans alike, welcome to another edition of Bill Swerski, Sports Talk Chicago. One of the couple, two, three best podcasts around. So sit back, grab yourself a cold one and a Polish sausage, park your keister in the French room, and listen to Bill Swerski, Sports Talk Chicago.
In Chicago, you know that all sports rock. The Bears, Hawks, Bulls, Cubs and Sox. Pick your favorite, you can choose. As long as the Packers lose. For everything you need to know, it's Bill Swerski, Sports Talk Chicago. Bill Swerski, Sports Talk Chicago.
Hey everybody, welcome to another edition of Bill Swerski Sports Talk Chicago. This is your hosts Alex and Shawn. On this episode, we have had a rough week here in Chicago as far as sports is concerned. But fear not, this is just the beginning and we have a lot to talk about. But first, I'd like to thank our sponsor, the Rockford Ice Hogs. If you're not familiar with the Rockford Ice Hogs, they're the AHL minor league affiliate of the Chicago Blackhawks. What does that mean for you? You get to see the stars of tomorrow today at family-friendly, affordable prices. The season is now over, but that shouldn't stop you from heading over to icehogs.com and getting yourself a hat, jersey, shirt, and more, and sign up for the mailing list so you can jump on when season tickets open up soon. So head on over to icehogs.com, tell them Swerski Sports sent you. Alex, my friend.
Hey, how's it going?
This has been a trying week.
Yeah, to say the least. Had a real good Easter weekend, but when it comes to the sports aspect of it, it was not great, bizarre, one great moment, but not the greatest by any means.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It was a nice weekend personally, but as far as a sports fan, it really pooped the bed.
Exactly.
So we are recording this on Monday night, which means that the Blackhawks start in 90 minutes. So we are going to jam this episode out because I know Alex and I will both want to be watching this game because this is the game that comes that the Blackhawks have to put on their big boy pants and come out in the road stadium and make it happen.
Yeah, I'll be completely honest. Watching the game tonight, kind of gingerly, I will have the TV on mute because I don't think I will be able to handle the Predators fans chanting and whatnot. No.
I'm going to sum up Predator fans for you. They do the wave.
Yeah, well, yeah.
They do the wave at an NHL game.
Yeah, the rave should just not be a thing, period, in my opinion.
And their team is they're a bunch of goobers too, because they're gonna trot out that stupid car with the Blackhawks paint on it and let their goober fans hit it with a hammer.
Well, they were saying somebody in Tennessee, I don't know if it was like for one of their newspapers, I don't know if it was Nashville or just like Tennessee, period, but they were saying why Predators fans are better than Blackhawks bandwagon jumpers. First of all, Tennessee, we have sold out every game since 2008. Second of all, we fill your stadium up with our own fans. So, the whole thing is just, it's really silly. They're a weird franchise. If I were to sum it up, they're very strange. They take everything seriously in a very strange manner. I mean, whatever floats their boat, but, if you're trying to get under our skin with silly stuff like that, it's not going to work.
Yeah, you might as well just be going nanny, nanny, boo-boo.
Right, exactly.
I mean, until you can post back-to-back playoff series wins, let alone a Stanley Cup championship, then maybe you have some leg room to talk, but sorry, you don't.
Yeah, this whole journey to the playoffs this year, you look at how they matched up against the Predators. They play them a lot. They're in their division. Looks really good against them in the regular season, and you're feeling pretty good. But it goes to show how things can really change in the postseason compared to the regular season. There was a lot of experts picking the Hawks to easily dismantle the Predators. So far, that hasn't really been the case. If the Predators do win this series, they're gonna treat this series win almost like a Stanley Cup win.
Oh yeah, they are. They're gonna act like they won it all. They're gonna, go crazy, and you're gonna hear suddenly every time you go to Twitter or any sort of hockey forum, it's gonna be filled with Predators fans. I've already seen memes making fun of the Blackhawks about how
me too.
They're getting ready to go home, play hockey. Golf. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, the way I see it is, if you beat us and win a Stanley Cup, then I'll give you credit. You got some stuff to talk about, but if you beat us and then you lose in the next round, but you're constantly railing us about this series, at least we have Stanley Cups to back it up. Not to be that guy, but I'm just saying, But expect the atmosphere in Nashville tonight to be as crazy as it's ever been.
Yeah, and honestly, I just wonder. Maybe the Predators go out there and have a great game plan and really hand it to the Hawks again. But I have a feeling that they don't know what it's like to be the favorite. Right. Blackhawks are going in there with nothing to lose at this point. They're down 2-0. They've lost home ice advantage. They're going into Nashville. All the pressure in the world is on Nashville.
Sure.
It's going to see how they respond, because anybody can get up for a big game when you're on the road and it's a team you hate that doesn't really think much of you.
Right.
It's a much different thing when suddenly you're the favorite and you have to defend your home ice.
Absolutely, because, let's look back at a few series that the Hawks have played against rival teams. Remember, against St. Louis in 2014, when they were up 2-0, they acted like the series was in the bag, over. The Hawks won 4 straight. That shut them up really quick. If I were a Blues fan, I'd be livid, but as a Hawks fan, it was great. Go back to 2011 when the Canucks were up 3-0, and we forced overtime in Game 7. The Canucks won, and very similarly to what I think Nashville's going to do if they do win, they celebrated that win pretty hard because they slayed the dragon, as they said on TV. The Blackhawks, who had beat them in the last 2 years, have finally, the switch has been flipped, and I'd expect the same thing from the Predators if they do beat us. So just be prepared for that. That's kind of what I'm saying, because they're not going to think about the Stanley Cups we won. They're going to think about right now, and they're going to think about how they finally beat us. It'll be kind of like feeling like a Cardinals fan when the Cubs beat them in the division series. So it's kind of that whole idea. So, like I said, just kind of prepare for that.
Yeah, it's I don't know. This team is playing much better than their talent level is capable of, and I'm giving this a coaching win. This is Peter Laviolette out coaching Quenneville.
He was prepared for this.
They are prepared. They've invited the Blackhawks to do something that they don't like to do, dump and chase, and force them to do that because they're taking away the speed through the center of the zone, entering the zone, and they're in the Blackhawks. They are trying to take these faraway shots where Penrique is he's just getting clean looks.
Yep.
And he's seeing things from 20 feet out, and there's there's no shielding in front of him. There's no bodies in front of him. He's just clean, soaking it all up.
Yep, exactly. The Predators, the way they defend the line.
Pecorine.
Yeah, there you go.
I was like,
There
why is
you
that?
go.
What did I say? I'm trying to back Pecorine, the weird name. But he's a good goalie, but he's not. He's not the greatest goalie they're gonna face. They just gotta put some bodies in front of the net and make him uncomfortable.
Right. Now, like a few years ago, Pekka Rinne was really good, but ever since then, he's been kind of up and down. We know he has talent, but sometimes you'll see Rinne play great, and then there's times where he's, Swiss cheese. So far, he's had easy looks for the most part. There hasn't been a lot of traffic in front of the net, and you got to give some of that credit to the Predators for getting in front of the net and getting in front of the zone when they try to enter, because they're just getting shut down. And like I said in the last game, to your point about the dump and chase, I said you got to start doing the dump and chase, because nothing else is working to get into the zone. And with all this happening, the Hawks look like they have cement in their shoes. Like they're not moving with any speed. They look so stiff.
In that first game, that first period was bad. They were horrible. And the second and third periods, I thought they played fairly well. They just, they weren't getting anything to go in. But there was some nice shots. There was, some ones where they were trying to jam it in right in front of him, and Rinne just, he's 17 foot tall. What is he, 6'6"?
Yep.
He's a big man, and he just laid flat, and they couldn't get elevation on those pucks, and they were just trying to smash it through him, and it didn't go in. But that first game they were giving up second chance shots, third chance shots, and they weren't getting any rebounds. It was if there was a shot, it either got soaked up or there was nobody chasing the rebound. And they outshot Nashville. They won almost 60% of the faceoffs. It was just couldn't put anything away.
Yeah. What was also really frustrating was on the power play, the Hawks made no effort to do anything creative. It's just the same stand around and pass endlessly and then get nothing really going for them. I think that was the most frustrating thing for me that the Hawks were doing in game one. I don't know if you saw the same thing. I know some people saw the same thing. What the Hawks, especially in the last, let's say 6 minutes, it seemed like there was very little sense of urgency. Like even in the last minute when they had to tie the game, they were just kind of gingerly passing the puck around, and there was no sense of urgency. Like they weren't rushing up. They weren't trying to make something quickly happen. They were just kind of la-di-da-di-da. And I was screaming at the TV. I'm like, you're down a goal and there's less than a minute. Go, let's go, let's go, let's go. What are you doing? I don't know if you kind of saw the same thing, but that's kind of what I saw.
Yeah, it was frustrating. On the power plays, I get it. That's what they do, is they're skilled guys and they're looking for that absolute perfect shot. But you know what? You are having trouble scoring goals is, at this point, quantity over quality, because it's never going to be that perfect shot that you get. It's going to be one where you just fired on goal and it takes a funny knuckleball movement, or hits a patch of ice that's not perfect and goes on end to end, or it ricochets off a defenseman. The best chance that the Blackhawks had was, I forgot who it was, but it went off a skate and almost went in, and just inadvertently. And that's what they need to do, is just fire it at the goal. There's no such thing in the playoffs as a bad shot on goal.
Right, exactly. Good things happen when you put the puck on net. That's what Edzo always says, and he's right, because you look at what the Predators are doing. They're taking every opportunity they can, and if it goes in, it goes in, and if not, you get a good secondary chance with the way they're moving around. So it's kind of what you got to do.
Yeah, and they haven't scored in 6 straight periods so far, and it's what they're doing is not working. They need to switch it up a little bit, and part of that's going to be they've got to work harder than the Nashville Predators. They're already a more talented team, but they actually have to come out there and show that they have the better work ethic. And and win those 50-50 pucks, they're going to have to do some dump and chase. They're going to have to way outshoot Nashville.
Yeah.
They're gonna have to outshoot them by, at least 12 shots, I think. And
Yeah.
and they're gonna have to score first this game, even if they
absolutely.
even if they give up the lead. That if they go down 1-0, nothing but bad things can happen because they'll be down 3 straight games, and it'll be bring back thoughts of how they haven't scored in forever.
Yeah. Think about that. 2 home games and you don't score a single goal. That's just, that's depressing to think about.
And to hear the Blackhawks fans boo, and rightfully so. It was bad. They weren't playing well that game. If you booed them in the first game, all right, shame on you. But second game, the Blackhawks deserve to be booed, and they asked Brent Seabrook and Coach Quenneville about it, and he was right there with them.
Yeah, well, you could poo-poo Blackhawks fans all you want, but a lot of the time in any sport, when that happens, people boo. That's kind of what happens. Now, it's interesting you bring that up because I was telling some people how I feel overall, my opinion towards how the Hawks are playing. It's like, I'm really disappointed that this is happening, and I'm sad to see this happen, but I'm not overly angry like I would be if this was happening, say a few years ago. I feel like we were so spoiled for so many years, 3 cups this decade, all the success, where I'm at the point where I'm I'm not pissed off at the team and the franchise for playing this way. I'm very disappointed. I think it's a shame that this is happening, but it's not like the Hawks are still looking for that first elusive title or that repeat title. They've had 3 titles, long playoff runs. I'm just not as upset as I would be now than I was a few years ago. I don't know if that sounds weird, but that's just kind of how I feel.
No, I understand. It doesn't make me any less upset. If they lose, and it's a team that they played hard, and the Kings a couple of years ago, or if they were playing a team that they just was a really good team and they lost, I could swallow my pride and be like, all right, well, you know what, they had a good season and it just wasn't their year. We'll go get them next year. But if they lose to this Nashville team that is not as good as them and is not going to make it past St. Louis, then yeah, I'm disappointed and I'm kind of embarrassed.
Yeah,
it's more. If they don't win, I completely see your point, but I don't want them to lose. But I would love to go to another parade. But I would, if they lost to a team that was evenly matched and it was a tough series and it was back and forth and they were doing some good things, but just didn't have enough in it at the end. All right, I can deal with that. But if you lose to a team that's not as good as you, just outworked you, and you got outcoached, then yeah, I have problems.
Yeah, no, and I get that. When you're the 1 seed and you lose to the low seed in that fashion, in that embarrassing fashion, it's not something to be proud of by any means. Getting shut out 2 times at home is very, very, very embarrassing. Especially with all this talent that they have. It's like it shouldn't happen. It really shouldn't happen. But, if the Blackhawks do make this a series, like a 6 or 7 game series, and they lose, it'll be more disappointing that they were able to like last year, able to come back and not, win the series. But at least you could say they gave them a fight. If they get swept and they get swept bad, then yeah, I'm a bit more upset. But I won't be livid if the same thing were to happen in, say, 2010. Like I said, I know it sounds weird, but you do get what I'm saying, right?
Yeah, I completely get it.
It's going to be a big game tonight.
Yeah, I don't know what to expect. I'm What are your thoughts?
Well, the Blackhawks are normally the kings of adjusting. They're the kings of making things happen when things are looking down. Sometimes the Blackhawks are better on the road, especially this year. I can see them winning this game, but at the same time, I could see them getting trounced. I think it's going to be like one of the two. They're either going to win a tight game or they're going to get absolutely trounced. And if they get absolutely trounced, then this series is over. It's absolutely over. So I think, like you said, the key is to score first. I think they need to get a goal within the first 5 minutes, if you want my personal opinion. I really think they do. They need to establish a lead early.
What they need is Campbell and Oduya to not look like they're in cement shoes, and they need Duncan Keith to not look pedestrian out there.
Which is weird because think about all the years that Duncan Keith has looked like an absolute god in the playoffs. Like 2015, when he won the Conn Smythe in the playoffs, he was unbelievable. He did some big things in 2010 and 2013. And seeing him this year just look like a dog out there, it's just like, it's not right. Things are just not right. When Kane and Taze are nowhere to be seen, it's not right. Everything is just not right. The only Blackhawk forward, frankly, who's grinding and actually doing some decent things so far is Marian Hossa.
Yeah, and that's what he does. And I just wonder if Coach Q, is he going to go nuclear and have Taves, Kane, and Panarin as a line this game?
Well, what I saw on Twitter, it looked like Kane and Taze are together with Schmaltz. So they're putting Kane and Taze together.
So who are they putting with, I'm guessing Anisimov and Panarin are still together?
I would assume so. I just saw the top line. I didn't read through all the lines, but what I was mainly looking for was seeing if Kane and Taze were being reunited, and from this tweet I saw, that's what it had it listed as. I'd probably have to verify it, but that's what I saw.
Yeah, that'll be interesting. You're going to see some unique lines, because this is the moment where Coach Quenneville just starts tinkering.
Right. The line blender. And there's that picture of him spinning the wheel with all the lines. I don't know if you've seen that Photoshop. It's kind of funny.
Coach Q. So, yeah, I mean, it's going to be interesting. I honestly, I think the Blackhawks pull this one out, but it's going to be a tight one. I want to believe that they could just turn it on and win 3-0, 4-0, or 4-1, but this is going to be a nail biter, I think.
And we don't have the luxury of coming back home. We got to go on the road.
Yeah, and it's one of those ones is if the Blackhawks come out and just trounce them like 4-0, 5-0, you feel more confident. You're like, all right, this next game, I can watch it, be more relaxed. This one's gonna be like a nail biter, and you're gonna come back for the next game, and you're just gonna be chewing on your nails, and you're at the edge of the couch, and sweating. And you're not going to be able to enjoy it because it's going to be so tense, because you're like, all right, they're down 2-1, but they got a little bit of momentum from winning, but it was a tight one.
Right. Yeah. Now, here's my question for you. If the Hawks lose tonight and they're down 3-0, will you watch Game 4?
Absolutely. Absolutely. But, if they lose this game and then they lose Game 4, I will not watch Game 5.
Really?
Yeah, 100%. I will not watch Game 5.
I will, because Game 5, historically Game 5 at home, they've been pretty good. So, I don't know. If they lose tonight, I'll watch Game 4, but I won't be like eyes glued to the TV. I'll just kind of have it on because, you're down 3-0. So.
Oh, and I was joking. I said if they lost tonight and they lost Game 4, I wouldn't watch Game 5 because they'd be out.
Well, I thought you meant if they won and then lost.
No,
I'm sorry.
No. Oh, that's cool. Yeah, I'll watch as long as they're in it. If they lose tonight, yeah, I'll watch Game 4, but it'll be one of those things is kind of just like waiting for the inevitable.
Right. Right.
But I'm hoping it comes to win tonight, and I'd much rather watch a game and be anxious about what's going to happen than just kind of waiting for the inevitable.
Right, exactly. Now, I'll tell you this. I'll be right there with you, with pretty much every other Hawks fan. Like you said, if they lose 3 and 4, yeah, definitely not watching Game 5. Yeah, definitely not.
So, let's transition over. Not too much Bears, but let's get them out of the way real quick. Moon Mullin, I think he's writes for CSN. He had I met him a couple times at Bears training camp, and maybe when I was younger, he had articles that were sensical and informative, but lately it's just articles of just like old man ramblings. You'll have a captivating title like, "Will the Bears make a trade for the top tight end in the league?" And then you read the article and it's like, "The Bears need a tight end. What should they do?" And then it's at the end. You're like, what? But he had this most ridiculous article yet is he wrote an article the other day reporting that the Bears are actively trying to trade up to get the either number 1 or number 2 spot so they can draft a quarterback.
What?
That's my thoughts exactly. I was like, you got to be kidding me. And he stood by it, and he swears up and down that they're actively trying. And then another article came out today by somebody else that was like, the Bears are actively trying to trade down. They're aggressively trying to trade back in the draft. And I'm like, that makes much more sense, is they feel that they can get a quality pick later on and try to pick up a few more picks. And I was like, it doesn't make any more sense to draft, to trade up, because if you want a quarterback, you identify a quarterback as the top guy, both of those teams aren't taking quarterback. So at worst is you have your pick of every quarterback but one. It just doesn't make any sense.
Right. I don't know what to say. I really don't know what to say. Okay, if this was 2012, sure, but in this situation, it doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah, and I mean, I get it is, the Browns aren't going to trade back, I don't think, unless they just give up the pick trying to get Jimmy Garoppolo. But you're not going to have two teams trade ahead of you, and even if you do, if you're that hot to trot for a quarterback, I don't know. I just don't see anybody in this draft trading up to the 1 and 2 pick to get a quarterback. I honestly think teams are going to reach, and their 4 quarterbacks are going to go in the first round. I've come to that conclusion that I'm almost certain that's going to happen.
Yeah, I could see that happening too.
But it won't be. You won't have 3 in the first 3 picks, which is not happening. If you're the Bears and you're dead set on, say, Deshaun Watson or Mitch Trubisky, and let's say that the Jets trade up for 1 of the 2 picks, and they take a quarterback, and the other team that stays put and drafts a quarterback, and you're like, all right, well, they took Deshaun Watson. Then you know what? You take Myles Garrett and you run. You run as fast as you can back to Chicago because you just got to steal.
Yeah. But I'm still trying to wrap my mind on that article. I don't even know if I'm going to bother looking at it, but that's that's something. And with the draft coming up, so soon, it's like what, 6 days away, right?
It starts Thursday.
Right. Thursday. So, yeah, wow. We'll finally be able to put so much speculation to rest. I'm very much looking forward to it because all we hear is, what if this happens? What if this happens? I'm just looking forward to it finally happening and knowing what we have to work with.
Yeah, it's, I love the NFL draft, but these like last few days that lead up to it. I take that back. It's a week from Thursday.
Okay.
The 27th.
Okay.
So we're 10 days away.
Gotcha.
But it's these last few days leading up to it. It just like, nothing you hear makes any sense. You hear like ramblings and lies, and you're just like, man, I just want to get this draft over with. I want the draft to come. I want to be able to see who the Bears have and have that excitement for the training camp and the season to start. The months up to the NFL draft are great because you're like, it's exciting, it's new. But then these last few weeks, it just becomes the tenseness, and you realize what a poker game the NFL draft is.
Yeah, it really is.
But I just did we've gone through all the positions of the draft. I did my final mock draft. So barring any kind of weird injuries, I did a mock draft, and I have Bears taking in the first round, Jamal Adams, safety out of LSU. Second round, sticking with LSU, they're going to go with Tre'Davious White, cornerback.
Mm-hmm.
Round 3, they're going to go with Deion Dawkins, guard out of Temple, who, although he's played guard, I think he will be a left tackle in the NFL. Fourth round, they go with Taywan Taylor, wide receiver out of Western Kentucky. Round 4, they go with national champions Clemson and Jordan Leggett, tight end. Round 5, Trey Hendrickson, edge rusher out of Florida Atlantic. And round 7, Lorenzo Jerome, safety out of St. Francis, Pennsylvania.
All right. So you got Jamal Adams, huh? I think a lot of people are on the bandwagon for him right now, including myself.
I like him. I think there's flashier safeties in the draft, but I think he's just really well-rounded.
Right.
He's got the leadership capabilities. He doesn't have the injury concerns of some other players. No character issues. He'll be a day one starter. It's
stuff the Bears would love to have.
Yeah, at that number 3 spot is, you've got to get a home run. You can't hit a double. You can't have a guy who's pretty good but not great. With the 3rd overall pick, you need somebody that's going to be a perennial Pro Bowler. And I get that the safety position is not the sexiest position. I get that. But, if I expect that Solomon Thomas and Myles Garrett are gone, I don't value any of the quarterbacks high enough to be 3. No offensive tackles really get a first-round grade in my book, let alone number 3 pick. I think any of the edge rushers, besides the 2 I think are going 1 and 2, are worth the 3 pick. Jonathan Allen is a really good player, but the injury concern makes me wonder what his shelf life is. I just feel it's going to be a defensive back if they can't trade back. But one of our loyal listeners wanted me to go through. He sent his mock draft, and he has a trade in there. So this is a young future. He has the Bears trading the number 3 pick and the 4th round pick that they got from the Bills for the 11th overall pick and Carolina Panthers 2nd round pick. And he has the Bears taking the 11th pick and drafting O.J. Howard, the tight end out of Alabama. In the 2nd round, he has Deshaun Kaiser, quarterback out of Notre Dame.
Mm-hmm.
And then with the other 2nd round pick, he has safety Marcus Williams out of Utah. 3rd round pick, he has offensive tackle Antonio Garcia. 4th round, cornerback Howard Wilson. 5th round, wide receiver Kenny Galladay. And 7th round pick is linebacker Ben Boulware. And he wanted to know what we thought of it. I'm not that high on O.J. Howard. I mean, he's got a lot of talent, but I don't know if I draft a tight end that high. I think you can get better value there, but he's a nice player. If you can get Deshaun Kaiser in the second round, then that's a win. I feel like people are going to reach for quarterbacks, and
Right.
Deshaun Kaiser is going to get pushed into the first round. Probably not that early in the first round, but I would imagine by pick 25, 26, he's going to be gone. I just don't see him being available in the second round.
Yeah. It seems like it'd be a very lucky scenario for the Cubs if they were to get in that position. But if they were in that position, I would imagine they'd take that right away.
Oh, if you could get a Deshaun Kaiser in the second round, you've got to count your blessings. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm not super high on any of the quarterbacks, but I really honestly feel like Deshaun Kaiser could have the best career out of any of the quarterbacks in this draft. But I think just out of the sheer nature of you need a quarterback and there's not a lot of them to go around, is you're going to see Mitch Trubisky go in the first round. You're going to see Deshaun Watson go in the first round. You're going to see Kaiser go in the first round. And you're going to even see Pat Mahomes probably go right around, the last couple picks in that first round too.
Yeah. The wait is soon going to be over. Really, really excited to see who we get finally, because probably the next time we do a show, well, no, we'll probably do one before the draft if it's a week from Thursday, but less than 2 weeks away. And when the Bears do draft, it's going to be a media circus of angry people versus happy people and happy people versus angry people. So there's going to be that, but at least you'll know what we have. When we go back to that Kaiser thing, man, I know that a lot of people aren't super high on him, but I am praying that somehow happens, because that would be pretty lucky for the Bears for that to happen.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, he had a lot of ups and downs at Notre Dame, and he even got benched late in his career there. But the guy has the most NFL-ready arm out of any of the quarterbacks in this draft. I mean, he's got a big arm, but he just needs to put it together, and he's in the perfect spot. If you already have him, Mike Glennon, who you've named your starter from day one, which means that I really doubt the Bears are going to draft a quarterback at number 3, because if they've already named a starting quarterback, if you draft the guy at 3, you pretty much got to play him. And you've got a Mark Sanchez to work with him. I mean, as much as he make fun of him for the butt fumble, he's been around this league for a long time, and
Yes, he has.
And he's seen several different systems, and he's been around, and apparently he's a good guy to have in the locker room, and a smart guy. So if he knows his role and he's just going to work with a young quarterback, that's a good spot for a Deshaun Kaiser to be in. Is he doesn't have to go out there and get beat up. He can learn. This team is a young team that's hopefully ascending, and once they get to a point that they're a better team all around, is then he can step in, and this is his team, and he's not going to get associated with all those growing pains. Kind of like if you think about Troy Aikman, is the first couple years in the league, he got his butt handed to him because it was a bad team.
Right.
He won't have to go through all those growing pains. I think it's a good fit. It just, somebody I think is just going to reach for him, whether they trade back into the first round or they just, reach to have another quarterback.
Yeah, absolutely. When you get drafted by the Bears, you darn well know that you're a rebuilding team, and you always pray that your young assets don't get absolutely mauled when you're on a bad team. So, there's always that in the back of your mind. And with the Bears' luck as of late, with all the injuries, you always got to worry about that in the back of your mind.
Yeah, absolutely. It's having a guy that you really believe in, that you think has a lot of talent, can really help your team, and gets injured, Kevin White, it really it really sets you back. I mean, it sets you back if you're a general manager because people judge you on that. I mean,
Yep.
It's one thing if you're like, I drafted a guy with an injury history, or he had a surgery and we still drafted him anyway, or if it's a soft tissue type thing like Alshon Jeffrey was going through. But Kevin White had 2 different broken bones. No injury history from college, and he broke bones. And you're like, what could we do? There's nothing we could have done to prevent this. There's nothing we could have done to forecast this. And we believed in the guy, and he's got to be successful for us to get to the point where we need to be, because we can't redraft that position and not have a major setback. So it really is detrimental to the coaching staff, the general manager, and then Kevin White himself, any player that happens to. It's just a bad situation all around, and nobody benefits from it, except for opposing teams.
Right.
So, expediting things a little bit so we can get ready for this game. Do you want to talk baseball, or do you want to talk a little bit about this shocking Bulls win from last night?
Well, I guess we could end with baseball, so let's talk about the shocking Bulls.
I don't know. Did you catch the game at all?
I did, yeah, because I was at my family, one of my cousins. We were celebrating with them. One of my relatives is ill, so we brought the celebration to him. He's in a rehab facility right now, so there was a big TV in the break room where we were having our little celebration. So the Bulls game was on, and I watched the first half. Then we came home in about the third quarter, and I saw the rest of the game. Yeah, wow.
I mean, the first thing I have to say, and this is not to take anything away from the Bulls, because they earned the win, is Boston is arguably the worst number 1 seed that I can remember.
Yeah. I mean, no one expected them to be that high. That's for sure. I mean, they were the 1 seed because Cleveland just fell apart.
Yeah, and I kind of likened them to, was it like the 2011, 2012 Bulls, where they worked so hard, and Tibbs treated a random Wednesday night game as like it was the game 7 of the NBA Finals, and they hustled and worked, and he played everyone,
Yep.
And they ended up with the top seed. But everybody in their right mind knew that there was no way they were making an NBA championship. At best, they were going to go and get destroyed by the Miami Heat.
Because what's interesting about that is you think about the Cavs and you think about how they're playing right now, and you think about the Celtics, and you're thinking, like, a few different games, they play better. The standings are different. The standings are different.
Yeah, and you know what? Even if somehow magically Boston figures it out and beats and realizes the Bulls aren't very good, and they win this series, what's the highest they can go? Is they can't get past the Cavaliers. They're a one-man team. Boston is Isaiah Thomas, period. And if the Cavaliers, even depleted and lacking, they're not a well-rounded team. At the end of the day, LeBron is a very, very good defender. And if LeBron goes, you know what, I'm going to shut down Isaiah Thomas, you know what, there's nothing Boston can do to win that series.
Right. Now, I still think the Celtics are going to beat the Bulls because I think the Celtics, though they're not the greatest 1 seed that we've seen, I still think they're more talented than the Bulls. But, as many people have pointed out, the Bulls do match up well against Boston, and I could see this series going at least 6. I think the Bulls are going to give them hell for a while, but I just don't think the Bulls have the depth or the young talent to win this series.
I mean, the Bulls are interesting because they were not built for a long season at all.
No.
But for a short playoff run, they've kind of got a team that could do some damage. I mean, as long as Dwayne Wade is healthy, how many other guys in the league have as much playoff experience as him? And
Not
experience
much.
in the playoffs is really important.
Yes, it is.
You've got a guy in Jimmy Butler who does have playoff experience, and he's one of the top 10, 12 players in the league. You've got Rajon Rondo, who has a ton of playoff experience in his own right, and is he's won an NBA championship. Was Dwayne Wade run 3 or 4?
4. Or 3. Because he won in 2006.
Yeah,
he won
right.
with LeBron in 2012 and 2013. So he's got 3.
Yeah, so between the two of them, they got 4 titles.
Right.
So you've got a mix of veterans and some young players who are, this is their first go around. You've got the recipe to upset somebody.
Yeah, you do.
Do I think they'll upset anybody more than Boston? Probably not. But it's an interesting series to say the least, because the Bulls couldn't have drawn a better matchup, I don't think.
No, it is true. You're definitely right. The veteran experience does go a long way. Plus, you add in Jimmy Butler in there, and you saw a really good performance from Bobby Portis last night, having one of your younger assets really step up. But, you definitely make a good point. Maybe they do squeak this series out. I'm not fully saying that's not going to happen. I'm not putting my money on it. This Bulls season is so weird because there were some low points where it's like, this isn't even a playoff team. They don't deserve to be. And now we're hitting here saying that there is a chance, no matter how big or small you think it is, there is a chance that they could upset 1 seed Boston. And what was really interesting about last night's game was how I was sitting and watching. I have not been emotionally attached to a Bulls game in months because of the way things have been going. And in the back of my mind, I still know that this is going to legitimize Garpax and the whole scheme, and they're not going to be any closer to winning a championship. Like you said, maybe they match up in a first round, they win a series, and they can make somewhat of a decent run. But they're not close to being built as a championship team. But I'm watching the game, and I'm cheering every basket. I'm standing and clapping as Jimmy Butler's making these clutch free throws at the end. I'm having this feeling of just excitement during these games that I haven't felt in a long time. It's really quite strange.
Oh, absolutely. I think this might be the first game all season when I seemed more than a passive observer. Like when they said, they huddled up and they looked at the replay and said that the ball tipped off of Jimmy Butler last, and at the end of the game, I was like, what? There's nothing conclusive that shows that. Rah! I was getting heated.
Yeah, I know. And I'm like, what is going on? This is a team I've ragged on all year with this scheme and how they're coached and how they're run. And here I am in a playoff game as they're the 8th seed, cheering them on. And, I'm not going to lie. It felt good. It felt really good.
Yeah, and I'm just looking at the bracket quickly, and if the Bulls are somehow able to pull this out, and that's a big if.
Big if.
I mean, they're going to have to do a better job of guarding Isaiah Thomas, and Nico can't go 1 for 9 shooting, and you're not going to be able to count on Bobby Portis going 8 for 10.
Right. That was that was something that was completely unexpected.
Yeah, but you know what is you expect Rajon Rondo to play better. You expect about the same from Jimmy and Dwayne, and you expect more from Nico, and anything else you get from Robin Lopez or Bobby Portis, it's just gravy. And somebody was arguing with me, and they were saying, well, can the Bulls expect to dominate on the glass like they did? And I said they don't really need to, because a lot of it was offensive glass, and they shot terribly. The Bulls, what,
Yes.
they shoot 30-something%? So I expect them to shoot better in that game 2, so they shouldn't need to hit the glasses hard.
You know what's really funny is that if you think of the shots they missed, if they could have made a few threes here or there, they could have won that game by like 15 points.
Yeah, I mean, they were winning by a lot going down to the end, and it was Boston made a little bit of a comeback. But, even if the Bulls do pull this one out, odds are they're going to have to play the Wizards in round 2, and that just doesn't bode well.
Right. Yeah, that if they do win this series and they go against the Wizards, I really would not have my money on the Bulls. I mean, like I said, right now, my money is still on the Celtics, but I do acknowledge the fact that there technically is a chance that the Bulls could pull this out. I have that gut feeling, honestly, right now, and I know this sounds bad, but I almost feel like it's going to be like a lot of Bulls series recently where they win game 1, shock everyone, and then they lose the next 4. Like, I could see that happening.
It's possible.
But maybe it doesn't.
Okay, let's go hypothetical here.
Okay.
Put this out there. Let's say the Bulls pull this series out. Let's say they go on to beat either the Wizards or the Atlanta Hawks. Big if. Who would you rather face in the conference finals? Cleveland Cavaliers or the Milwaukee Bucks?
Well,
it's either
I would
you face LeBron James for a chance to go to the NBA Finals, or you face a team that just whooped you bad every time they played you.
Here's the thing. I think the Bulls and the Bucks, the Bulls would match up so horribly against a young, athletic team like the Bucks. I mean, I say this over and over, but the Greek Freak is as athletic of a ball player as you could find. Imagining him versus our older veterans, I think that'd be an absolute nightmare. With that being said, you're going against LeBron James. That should speak for itself. But, that's a tough question. But you could also say this. The Bucks don't have that longevity of playoff experience that the Bulls do. So there's a lot of different, alleys you can go here. I think beating LeBron is the hardest thing to do. But the Bulls would match up horribly against the Bucks. That is a really, really tough question.
I'm going to go with this. I realize that any team with LeBron James right now is going to be better than the Bucks. And that is not a knock on the Bucks. That's just saying is LeBron James is really good and he will carry this team. But with that said, if you play the Cavaliers, they're a one-man team. And LeBron could get hurt. He has avoided injury his whole career so far, pretty much. And that doesn't happen. Eventually, injuries catch up to you. You could catch a lightning in a bottle, and LeBron could, pull his hamstring or, tweak something or break a hand. Anything. I'm not saying I want this. I'm just saying that could happen. And suddenly, a LeBron-less Cavaliers versus the Bulls, that's a really good matchup there. But,
yeah,
even if you have one injury, the Bucks are still a much better team than the Bulls, because they're just young, fast, and athletic, and they just, they don't let the Bulls go in their slow, plodding offense.
Right, exactly. That's what makes this so difficult. Now, again, I know this is a really big if, and it's probably not going to happen, but it's something very interesting to think about. When you look at what the Bulls have, and you look at what the other teams have, you say to yourself, man, if this Bulls team had this roster a few years ago with an in-prime Dwayne Wade and an in-prime Rondo, and don't get me wrong, Rondo's playing really well lately. Sometimes just a matter of a few years can make such a big difference. And that's what makes this kind of fun. Because you don't have youth but you have experience, but the experience is getting old. And that just changes matchups like that. I mean, if this team was more in its prime, it could definitely match up against the Bucks, but it's not. I could see that Bucks athleticism just overtaking these old Bulls.
The first 3 games that they played against each other this year, the Bucks beat the Bulls 108-97, 95-69, and 116-96.
It's like they were jumping, like they were doing those acrobatic Jesse White tumbler moves around the Bulls in those games, like just toying with them.
Yeah, and it's funny because the 116-96 game, is the Bulls were winning at halftime. They were up by 2, and then the third quarter the Bucks outscored them 31-25, and in the fourth quarter they outscored them by 36-20.
Yeah,
Just
wow.
and it just that they turned that one on. I just. I mean, this was as hypothetical as it gets. There's no way.
Right. I mean, watch after this show. The Bulls get trounced in Game 2. They lose a close one in Game 3, and then they fall apart in Game 4, and then then the series is over. I mean, it still possibly happened, but I honestly never thought we'd be playing hypothetical scenario like that with the Bulls legitimately, like maybe as a joke, but not like somewhat legitimately after the Bulls upset the Celtics in Game 1. I mean, because we're hypothetically saying right now that the Bulls could win the series, and before the series it seemed like, yeah, that's not going to happen, but right now there's looking like there is a slight possibility that it does. So, we'll see.
Yeah, in that game, the Greek Freaks was 13 of 19 shooting and scored 35 points, and Jabari Parker scored 27.
The Greek Freak, he's so good. He is so good. You want pure entertainment? I can't say enough about him. He is a guy who every basketball fan will enjoy watching and does enjoy watching.
Yeah, not everybody's seen him.
Right, because it's not like he's on the Knicks or the Bulls or the Lakers. He's on the Milwaukee Bucks, a tiny market compared to a lot of markets.
Yeah, I mean, and they're like a suburb of Chicago.
Pretty much. I mean, imagine if the Greek Freak was on the Knicks doing what he was doing.
I just want to point out that in the Bucks 97-83 win over Toronto, Tony Snell played 24 minutes and had 11 points. Tony Snell.
Wow. I know he had a good game, but wow.
All right, so we've got pretty much everything out of the way. Let's wrap this up by talking some baseball.
Well, the Brewers just took the lead right back.
Yeah.
While we're on that, the Brewers have just hit their 3rd home run, and it's the 3rd inning.
The Brewers seem to have the Cubs' number.
I mean, the Brewers have to have at least 10 home runs against the Cubs this year. It's ridiculous. Thames just hit his 2nd home run. Like, Eric Thames, who the hell is this guy? I don't know half these Brewers. Another guy who homered was Jet Bandy. And the other home run was by that bug-eyed doofus Ryan Braun, but,
I hate Ryan Braun.
Yeah, he had a 2-run bomb like halfway up the bleachers.
Yeah, Lackey not doing so hot. So, yeah, I mean, it's been ups and downs. Is the beginning of the week since our last show, you saw the Cubs have their banner-raising ceremony. And even though it was like a 19-hour rain delay, they got the game in and, won it in a, awesome walk-off fashion. And then they had the ring ceremony. And, and they won that series 2-1 against the Dodgers, and that was, high point. Suddenly, they go back to, or they have a homestand against the Pirates, and just the wheels come off the bus.
Yeah. wheels off the bus is a light way of putting it. You had 2 games that the Cubs should have won. The first game was back and forth. Kyle Hendricks wasn't getting the borderline calls. That happens. But the game on Saturday where they were up 6-2, and then the bats just went cold with the wind howling out, and the Pirates continued to chip away, popping up balls in the air that leave the seats, and just eventually took the lead, was beyond aggravating. And then yesterday, you had a complete implosion in the late innings, and against the Pirates, who every time they beat the Cubs seem to love to trash talk and celebrate and try to rub it in our faces. So it's frustrating.
Yeah, I mean, if you would have told me that on that game that you'd get 7 shutout innings by John Lester, and only 2 walks, that you have a good chance to win that one. And they lose 6-1.
Well, yeah, I mean, you look at the 8th inning. The bottom of the 7th, I think it was. Yeah, bottom of the 7th. They had a run in, 2 guys in scoring position, nobody out, couldn't score another run.
And that's been a big problem this year.
Huge problem. It happened. It's happened in every single game. It really has.
I mean, that game,
a lot of guys just not hitting.
Yeah, I mean, in that game, the Cubs were 1 for 8 with runners in scoring position and left 8 guys on base.
Yeah, it's frustrating. We know that baseball is a long season. We know how good this team is. We know that our superstars historically kind of get off to a slower start. But it's a lot of perspective right now because last year they started off like historically good, 26-6. And it's almost like after winning the World Series and having that season, that's kind of what we expect the Cubs to do, even though it is pretty realistic. So when you see the Cubs kind of playing like this, it's extremely aggravating. What's getting to me is the fact that the Cubs, 6-6, they haven't dominated anybody. And I know there's plenty of time for that to change. But let's face it, even the games they're winning are all close, tight games. They're not blowing anybody away. There are plenty of teams who are dominating right now. And again, that's going to change with the number of teams. But, when you're now used to being really good, it's just a bit more frustrating when things don't always go your way.
I mean, a couple things about that is they've had, a series against the Cardinals where the Cardinals cheated their way out of that in that first win, and it's a team that's your most heated rival, so anything can happen in those kind of things. Then you had a Brewers team that just had the Cubs number, the Pirates who act like it's the World Series that they'll never make it to. By playing the Cubs, and then you played the Dodgers, who are arguably the second best team in baseball.
Sure.
And you took every series except for this last one.
Right.
So I mean, they're not dominating, but they're also not hitting either. If you think about it, is they started off with, what was their record last year, like 25-6 to start the season?
26-6.
Yeah, but if you look, nobody was hitting. It was Fowler and Zobrist that carried that team offensively.
Exactly. Fowler was off to an unreal start that year, while Bryant and Rizzo were kind of with their usual early season slump. And, that's just kind of what happens. And, Rizzo's already working out of it. Bryant's still kind of trying to work out of it, but, that will change. What Dexter Fowler was doing last year, I remember saying to people, thank God we have him, because if we didn't have him, we might not even be 500 right now. And then everyone started heating up, and there you go, 103 wins. So we got to be patient for everything to come together. But there are definitely areas that the Cubs do need to improve on as they do that.
Yeah, I mean, Joe Madden says this a lot, but it's really true. Is baseball is a long season. These things have a way of working themselves out. 162 games, things work themselves out. And, I mean, right now, Brett Anderson is 1-0 with a 0.84 ERA. I mean, granted, they took a chance and they liked what they saw, bringing him in, but could anybody guessed he had a .84 ERA a couple starts in? No, those things even out. Do you expect Kyle Hendricks to have a 5.73 ERA by the end of the season? No, these things work themselves out. You're not going to have Carl Schwarber batting .240 by the end of the season. You're not going to have Chris Bryant batting, .250 by the end of the season.
Yeah, he's at like .230 right now.
Yeah, these things are going to work themselves out. This is a marathon and not a sprint. It doesn't matter, and especially since if you look at the standings, is Cincinnati going to be this good at the end of the season? No chance. None chance. I mean, this is a team that's playing way over their head right now. They're not a very good team. I think pretty much every expert has predicted them to be one of the worst teams in baseball. So, look at all that matters is you win your division, and the Cubs, if they win tonight, they'll be in second place. And then once they play the Reds and sweep them, things will be back in the world. The team that you worry about the most is St. Louis, and they're 3-9 right now. Pittsburgh, who just swept you in a 3-game series to get to 500.
Right. Now, I will say this about the Pirates. I think it is good not to completely underestimate them, because I still do think that they have a pretty good ball club. However, you look at the Cubs roster and you say that this is the best team in the division. And once things start evening and working their way out, then things will be fine. One thought I had earlier was every team has, every really good team especially, has that 1 month that's just kind of mediocre or bad. With the way the division is projecting itself to be, despite how it looks a few weeks in, the Cubs could kind of afford to have their mediocre month early on, and then once things start to click, they can, get back in the lead and take the division. Of course, you can never say everything 100% certain, but my money is that the Reds are not going to maintain this, that the Cubs will figure things out, and we just got to work through some bumps in the road. I know it's frustrating right now, but just don't give up on this team like some people already are, because that's ridiculous when you have 150 some games left, or 140. Just remember
they
that.
12. So they've got 150 games left.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, it's one thing if you're struggling in the beginning and you see that a team like Colorado's in first place in your division, because Colorado is a team that has put a good team together, and they're a team that they can score a lot of runs, and you're like, all right, you don't want to get too many games behind that team, but all you need to do is win your division. You don't need to win 100 games. You just need to win your division, because then you go to the playoffs and you're not a wild card. Cincinnati is bad. They're going to fade away. I'm not worried. It's just, this is it's not at the start of the season that you wanted to see, but it is way too early. They're not even 10% done with a season.
Yeah,
they're like 8%, 7% done with the season. So you've got a long way to go. We'll see how it works out. The starting rotation for the Cubs right now is pitching pretty well. Lester is lights out, even though he doesn't have a win yet. He's lights out. Arrieta's 2-0, and he said some nice stuff. Lackey's struggling in this game, but he had a 3 ERA going in after 2 games. Anderson looked good, and just Hendricks is the only one that's struggled. It's that bullpen that's really been the Achilles heel. C.J. Edwards, Rondon, and Wade Davis look great right now.
Yeah, they look great.
But then you've got Mike Montgomery, Koji Uehara, Stroop, Grimm, and Brian Dunsing that are just stinking up the joint.
Well, Koji Uehara has been really good until yesterday. If you look at the numbers, he's been pretty good until yesterday, but yesterday he really did not have it. Strop has been a train wreck so far this year. Justin Grimm has been very inconsistent. Yeah. Montgomery's been inconsistent. So, you want your bullpen to lock things down because you got to depend a lot on that, especially in this day and age in baseball. You have to depend on your bullpen a lot.
Yeah, especially since even if you get a great start out of Arrieta, you're not getting more than 6 innings out of him.
Right. He's a strikeout guy, throws a lot of pitches, and you're not going to have him go over 100 pitches. You're not going to have him go complete games like he did in 2015.
Yeah, I mean, Lester is about the guy you'll get. Lester and Hendricks you'll get maybe 7 innings out of. But Arrieta, Lackey, and Anderson, they're guys that you're gonna tax your bullpen a little bit more. They may give you a great outing.
Especially Anderson.
Yeah, you're just not going to get the, complete games out of them. You're not going to get 7, 8, 9 innings out of them. So you're going to go to the bullpen, and you have to be able to rely on those guys to hold on a lead.
I will say this. This is the kind of scenario that you do kind of miss Travis Wood.
Yeah, it's hilarious. This morning I was driving into work, and I was like, man, I need to write this down because I don't forget it. I was like, but I would really, these are the types of moments that you miss Travis Wood because he's just steady.
Yeah. He's not a guy who's going to be putting up Cy Young numbers as a starter, but he can make some spot starts here or there. And in the bullpen as long relief, you can depend on him for a couple of innings. If you need him to clean up a mess or kind of just keep things going, keep things alive, he's a great person to do it.
Yeah.
I mean, he's really kind of a fun player to watch.
Or if you need him to go out there and, play left field.
Yeah, exactly. Make some nice catches at the wall.
Wow, he's not doing so well this year.
Well,
look at his WHIP is 3.375.
Wow,
and his ERA is 20.25.
Well, how many innings has he pitched?
2.7.
Well, kind of blown up, but
Where
yeah.
did he get 2.7?
Wait.
Thirds. I guess it's 2/3. I'm on Baseball Reference.
I was gonna say 2.7.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So they're saying 2 2/3.
Yeah, that's kind of what I thought.
Yeah. 4 hits, 6 runs, 6 earned runs, 1 home run, 5 walks, 2 strikeouts.
Well, Royals pitching has been really bad this year, so far.
Yeah, and he's played in 5 games and he only has 2 2/3 innings so far.
Yeah.
Oof.
I guess he's facing like 1 or 2 batters and then that's it.
I don't know. Trade him back to us.
Yeah, we'll take him back.
So yeah, now Cubs have Brewers, and you just hope they give a bounce back and win the series. Even if they win 2 out of 3, just getting that winning streak back on. It's you don't have to win 20 games in a row, but if you can put 5, 6, 7 series and wins in a row, that's that gives you a nice record.
Yeah. I mean, you don't need to be like going on 5-10 game win streaks. Just get a few wins here or there and get yourself going. You got pretty much a whole season ahead of you. So don't try to think too far ahead. Just kind of take one game at a time.
And it's funny because, we mentioned earlier that last year it was Ben Zobrist and Dexter Fowler that carried the Cubs in the beginning of the season. And if you look to the crosstown team, it's Avi Garcia, out of all people, is absolutely carrying this White Sox team offensively on his back.
Leading the American League in hitting right now.
Yeah, in average, and probably isn't he up there in home runs too?
I think so because, like you said, he's carrying this team's offense. It seems like every time the Sox score runs, it's something Avi Garcia does, whether it's a home run, a double, a single, or a sac fly. It's something that he's doing.
Yeah, it's unreal. I texted my buddy who's a diehard White Sox fan, and I was like, "Did the light go on?" And he goes, "Yeah, it's contract year."
Yeah.
Yeah, he's batting 465. Let's see. He's not the leader in home runs, but he's got to be somewhere up there. Giovanni Soto is up there in the home run leads.
Yes, he is.
I mean, he's got several home runs, so he's not too far off the lead. But he's batting 465. He's got a bunch of RBIs. He's playing really well, and he's just absolutely carrying that team offensively. And they're like, he's single-handedly the reason why they're not that bad of a team. They went and they won a series against the Indians, and then they won a series. Won a series against the Twins, and they're a game above 500.
Yeah, and a lot of people are talking about what they're doing, and in addition to Ave Garcia, a lot of it's been their starting pitching. It's reminding me a lot of what the White Sox did last season, where the starting pitching was so unbelievably good, it was just carrying them to a lot of wins. So I'm seeing a lot of the same thing here as I did last year. And I even said, going into the season, don't expect the White Sox to be really horrible out of the gate, because we talked about their roster, and it's not horrible. It's not great, but it's not horrible.
Yeah, I mean, their 3, 4, and 5 starters right now have ERAs of 1.5, 1.62, and 1.69.
Yeah.
That's the reason that their number 1 and number 2 starters are, Quintana and then Miguel Gonzalez, who he had one shaky start, but other than that, he's one shaky start, one good start. So and his ERA is 4.22. It's not terrible. But
what's Quintana's ERA?
6.75 with a 1.
Yeah, isn't that wild?
Whip, and that's not good if you're the White Sox, is because he's the one that's going to get those trade chips. I mean, yeah, when you flip Holland and you flip Shields, those are guys you can get a little something for, but it's Quintana that's going to get you the big haul. You need him to turn it around quick.
Yeah, I mean, there are a lot of people right now kind of angry at the Sox for not trading him already, and they're saying now that his trade value is going down, the Sox blew it. And I'm thinking, I think Quintana will bounce back. I really do. But if he keeps this up, that is not good for his trade value.
Oh, absolutely not. And I mean, the thing is, as a fan, when you're like, why didn't they do this? And it's easy to say, why didn't you do this when you didn't have to do it? It's like asking somebody, well, why didn't you just buy a Ferrari when you bought a new car? Like, well, you know what? I couldn't afford a Ferrari.
Right.
It's if you're the White Sox, yeah, you could have easily traded Quintana in the offseason, but
sure,
you clearly didn't get offered the deal that you wanted to get and what you thought you could get for him, and you've got him under control for a long time. So you don't have to trade him unless you feel you're going to get the best value for your team. That's what Rick Hahn's job is to do what's best for the White Sox. And if he feels there's a certain threshold for what they need to get for Jose Quintana, then he's selling the White Sox short if he gives up Quintana for less than that.
Right, exactly. And when the Sox are going to be trying to trade these assets, they're going to be wanting not only prospects, but they're going to want some prospects who are major league ready. So you got to really shop around and look at your options. And you got to make sure that the deals that you're making, you got to make sure you feel like you're getting something necessary in return, something that you can use for the future. A lot of throw-ins end up doing a lot of good things, but when you're shopping your top assets, you want that can't-miss guy. Like Yoan Moncada was that can't-miss guy with Chris Sale. A lot of people are looking at Lucas Giolito or Reynaldo Lopez as that can't-miss guy or guys in the Adam Eaton deal. So that's kind of the thing that they're really trying to look for.
Oh, absolutely. And they need that piece. I mean, if you trade Derek Holland or James Shields, you might get somebody that turns into somebody, but you'll pad your minor league system, but you're not going to get a Yohan Moncada or a Addison Russell as a centerpiece on those deals. Whereas Quintana, you expect to get somebody's top guy. So you need to get either somebody that's young on the roster, or is like a number one, number two type guy in a deep farm system. So that's what you need to get, and that's you can't sell yourself short. The ease that which they got the Sale deal done, and what's the other guy they sent to Washington?
Adam Eaton.
The ease they got those deal, and how quickly they came back to back, it just sort of made it seem like it's easier than it is. Making a trade in baseball is not easy because not a ton of them happen.
Right, exactly. And when you're trying to look for blockbuster after blockbuster to rebuild, it's much easier said than done. You got to make the other team want to give up their young assets, and you got to find the right value for your veteran assets, like I was saying. So it's really hard to kind of pin Rick Hahn saying, oh, why didn't you trade him this and this and this? I mean, you got to make sure you're not making deals just to make deals. You got to make the right deal and know that it's right.
Yeah, and that's the trick. I mean, it's the same thing with the Bears. Is you'll have a million people saying, well, why don't the Bears just trade back from the number 3 pick? Yeah, I mean, you could, but you've got to find somebody that's willing to make the trade. You're not just going to be like, if somebody's sitting at 15, they'll be like, I'll trade you this 15 pick for the number 3 pick. It's not a good deal.
Yeah, I mean, it's a two-way street. You got to have both parties agree. You can't just say, this GM do it, you got to do it. Both parties got to agree.
Yeah, it's like saying, oh, why don't they just sign this guy? Well, I mean, he's a human being. That's a free agent. He has all of the power in the world. So, if you could offer him $1 bajillion a year, and if he's like, well, I don't want to play in Cleveland, or wherever, he doesn't have to go play there. He can play wherever. Most top free agents will have 20 plus offers. You can pick those. So it's not like, oh, you just sign them. You're just like, oh, it's not like just going to the store and buying a loaf of bread. You got to be able to woo these guys. There's a lot of factors that people just forget when they're just behind a keyboard.
Yeah, exactly. And it's really hard for us fans to know what exactly goes on. The movie Moneyball had that scene where Billy Bean's trying to make a deal. He's got like 3 different guys on the phone, and they have to discuss all these terms. I mean, that's just kind of a taste of what GMs have to go through. So it's so much easier said than done. You know what I mean?
Oh, absolutely. So I try to be realistic in my criticisms of things.
Right.
I mean, I still will have them, but it's when you're a GM of any sport, there's a lot of realities, and there's also a kind of rule of conduct as far as GMs go. And if other GMs don't, it's a boys club. If they don't like you, they're not going to deal with you, and so that's also an issue. Is you got to play nice with a bunch of other guys that are very competitive, and their job is to try to beat you. You've got to play nice with them and work with them as well.
Yep, exactly.
So is there anything else you want to add for this episode?
No, not really. Just really aggravated at this Cubs game because Jason Hayward looked like he hit a 2-run double off the wall, but it somehow went foul because of the wind. And I just feel like this year the wind is going against the Cubs in every aspect. Against the Dodgers in that one game, it killed like 3 home run balls. Against the Pirates, everything the Pirates hit in the air somehow flew out of the park. And now a Jason Hayward 2-run double is blown foul. It's just kind of aggravating.
Yeah, that's just the way it goes sometimes. You can't have everything go your way. But like I said, it's a long season. It's April.
Yes, it is.
So
yes, it is.
If this is still happening in July, then we could start worrying. But until then, We'll keep it even keeled.
Exactly, and that's what I try to tell people is don't expect 26-6 starts every year because even the best teams, that's extremely rare. You got to realize that some of these players just start slow every year. That's just kind of how they roll. You got to realize that some teams are not going to be maintaining what they're doing. That's just how it rolls. I know we all want to see the Cubs win as many games as possible, and I do too, and I get frustrated when they lose, but at the end of the day, just keep a cool head. I mean, it's so funny to think about. Go back 3 years ago, pre-2015, a 6-6 start we'd be ecstatic about.
Yeah.
Like think about that. Like back in 2010, 11, 12, 13, 14, when we'd start the year typically like 5-13, it seemed like every year, a 6-6 start would be like a blessing. But now that they're so good, it seems subpar.
Yeah, it absolutely does. And you just tempering expectations. It's baseball, and it's an odd sport because it's a marathon of a regular season, and then the playoffs become a sprint. So it's an interesting sport, and that's kind of why we love it.
Exactly. And of course, the last thing I do want to say on this show is we're about ready to start the Hawks game. When a lot of people listen to this, the game will already be over. So if they do win, then let's just keep it going and keep our heads up. If not, then I will soon be preparing my eulogy for this very, frankly, odd Blackhawks season.
All right, so quick lightning round is, because people will be listening to this after the game, what is the score of this game?
I'm going to take the optimistic approach, and I'm going to say the Hawks are going to win 4-1.
I'm going to say Blackhawks win. They're going to win 3-1, but it's going to be an empty netter to get that third goal.
Yeah, I think the fourth goal in my 4-1 prediction is going to be an empty netter.
All right, well, we both think Blackhawks win, so let's go Hawks. Thank you guys so much for listening. Please make sure that you subscribe however you listen to podcasts, whether it's iTunes, Stitcher, or YouTube. Follow us on Facebook, at Swerski Sports or at ShyFanPat1. Facebook.com/Swerski Sports, YouTube.com/Swerski Sports, SwerskiSports.com. Thank you guys so much for listening, and until next time, bear down.
Cubs win! What a lucky break! The good Lord wants the Cubs to win!
We thank Ditka and God for all they have provided.
Cubs win! Cubs win! Cubs win!
Oh, I don't want her. You can have her. She's a Packer fan. She can't fit in my van.
And she looks like
Remember, New Yorkers, smoking crack is not legal on the plains. Bears 31 to -7.
the Bears. Oh, when the Bears go bearing down.